my family's reaction to this issue has evolved over time. I think when I first told my mom about it, she said, I don't know that anyone would want to watch a film about that. And there was a little bit of like, why? Like, they just didn't understand. And then in the first month of working on the film, my dad called me and apologized for making that decision for me, which was unexpected, like unasked for. I think I'd sent him when I first started one email that was like kind of mean, and then I hadn't really talked about it since then. And he just basically, called me and said, "Well, you're making a film on this. I'm guessing if you're doing that, you aren't happy about something about it, and we made the decision we thought you would have wanted, and if it's not the decision you would have wanted, I'm sorry." And that really did a lot for our relationship, and that's part of the reason I think that we are still as close as we are. So when I went back to Virginia a little while ago, my dad and I started writing together, and we've got one screenplay we've done together, and we're working on another. And we talk really frequently, and he's given me advice on how to help do the financial stuff for the film and how to market it, and it's been really helpful. My mom's a little different. I think she's one of those people, like, she doesn't like to admit when she's wrong. And so she initially, I think, was a little more defensive. But she's also one of those people that when she comes around, like, she never disagreed. So once she got it, like, she always got it. That's just, she now, she knows now. And I think that for her, she started studying herbalism, and she started learning about how much of medicine is based on the industry rather than based on healing. And so for her, like, it's a very surprising transformation, actually. She went from being a very sort of technically oriented person to, like, going into this, like, oh, the earth will provide. I never would have guessed that my mom would have gone that direction, but it was actually really cool to see. And she has a huge passion around it. She's really good at it, and sends me little herbal things that she's made every now and then, which are actually really useful. I still use the muscle salve that she sent me for, after soreness after the gym. So she sort of went through that. And I think that was the persuasion, if you will, for her to understand the other things that maybe the medical community has suggested that they didn't give as much information as they could have on. And to talk to her, she said, I was born back in the 80s, and they asked the doctor, and the doctor basically told them they were idiots if they didn't do it, and, like, everybody does this, how could you not? Didn't have the internet. They sort of went with the best information they had. And if you think, at that time too, everyone had this done. They were, I think they were biblical scholars at one point. They went through seminary together, theological school. I may be getting the details of that wrong, but I know they went and studied that together. And so that just seemed like that was sort of their culture, if you will. And now they have actually seen my 3-hour edit of the film. They've watched the way too long version that I'm working on editing down. Really liked it. They agreed with me that it could be shorter, and they gave me some advice. Here's some spots you could, bring it down. And, we're really, really impressed with it and really moved by it. And my mom told me, she said, I think this film could change a lot. Yeah. So it's been very exciting to see that change. And my dad told me too, he said, this is going to be a heavy film for some people. Like, they said, we've had 5 years of you making this film to, like, get pieces of information and, like, oh, that's not normal, and that's something that's a result of this. And some people are going to get it all in 2 hours, just one one giant blast of the film, if you will. So I don't know how people are going to react to that. I think it's going to be a very intense experience for some people. But again, for them, I think one of the things that worked for us is that my parents are people who are open to changing when they receive new information. And there's tons of books in our house. They're always interested in learning. They're always learning new things themselves. And those skills, those ways of seeing the world have rubbed off on me. I think that my capacity for self-development is very much influenced by my parents and how much they taught me to learn and how much they enjoy learning themselves. So the fact that they were open to new information and that they were willing to be in dialogue with me about this and admit when they're wrong. So there are times where my parents will, like my dad did, will apologize, like, oh, we thought this and then now we know this. And thankfully they also taught me forgiveness. So we're still good.